Have you ever felt that relentless pull? You know, the one where your phone feels almost like glued to your hand?
Mhm.
Your mind's just buzzing with scattered thoughts, and those really important tasks, the high impact stuff, they just seem to sit there untouched.
Or maybe you're juggling like a dozen browser tabs,
Mhm.
constantly checking notifications, refreshing feeds.
Yeah, and by the end of the day, you just feel scattered, totally drained, and honestly no closer to those big goals you've set.
Such a common feeling now, isn't it? Almost universal in this hyper-connected world we live in.
Mm.
Frustrating.
It really is. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just going to talk about that noise. We're actually planning to cut right through it.
Hmm.
We're diving deep into something that promises to help you reclaim your focus, kind of reset your mind, and maybe even train your brain to tackle those hard, important things.
And our guide on this journey today is the work Dopamine Detox
Hmm.
by Thibaut Murray, specifically looking at the summary from Bookie.
Right. And this source, it's really packed with practical strategies, isn't it? Things to fight that constant overstimulation we're all so used to.
Absolutely. Our mission for you today is, well, it's pretty clear and actionable, I think. We're going to unpack exactly how dopamine, this crucial, often misunderstood chemical, how it fundamentally influences your motivation, drives your behavior.
Okay.
We'll identify the pitfalls, the subtle traps of constant stimulation in this digital age, how our environment has essentially hijacked our reward systems.
Hijacked, yeah. That's a strong word, but it feels accurate.
It does. Then we'll dive into concrete detox methods, breaking them down step by step.
Practical stuff.
Exactly. And finally, give you clear steps to reclaim focus, boost productivity, and ultimately find that genuine fulfillment that often feels, well, pretty elusive right now.
And our goal here isn't just to, talk about these ideas. It's really to give you a crystal clear, digestible understanding of how you can actively reset your own neural pathways.
Hmm.
This is about equipping you with tools for a more focused, more productive, and honestly, a more deeply satisfying life. We're talking real change, not just another quick fix.
Precisely. Think of it like becoming fluent in how your own brain's reward system works,
Yeah.
and then crucially, learning how to steer it,
Right.
towards what genuinely serves your long-term well-being, your real aspirations.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. Dopamine. When most people hear that word, their mind just jumps straight to pleasure chemical, right?
The one, yeah.
Oh, I got a dopamine hit from that cookie, or scrolling social media gives me a dopamine rush. But the source material makes it really clear it's a big misconception.
It absolutely is. A
Yeah.
really widespread misunderstanding, and correcting it is like the foundational step if you want to make any meaningful change in your habits and focus.
Okay.
Dopamine is crucial, no doubt. A neurotransmitter involved in tons of functions, but its main job isn't the feeling of pleasure itself, not the liking of something once you get it. It's fundamentally about motivation. It's the signal that drives us to seek rewards, to pursue goals, to take action before we get the thing. It's the wanting system.
So going back to the cookie, it's not the actual satisfaction of eating it that gives the main dopamine release. It's more the intense anticipation, the craving, the mental image of it.
Precisely that. Dopamine surges most powerfully when we anticipate an exciting outcome, when our brain predicts a reward is coming.
Mm-hmm.
That could be basic survival stuff like finding food or water, or anticipating a social connection, or even the drive for reproduction. Evolutionarily makes perfect sense.
How so?
Well, our ancestors couldn't just sit around hoping food would appear, right?
Mhm.
They needed a powerful internal drive, a chemical push
Mhm.
to actively seek out resources essential for survival.
Right, to get them moving.
Exactly. That relentless drive to pursue, explore, take action, that's dopamine doing its critical job. It makes us overcome inertia.
And the source really highlights something crucial here, that people often feel this sense of emptiness or even dissatisfaction after getting the reward, which totally flies in the face of the pleasure chemical idea.
It really
You
did.
get you finish the show, you buy the thing, and then what? You're not fulfilled, just ready for the next hit. It's fleeting.
Exactly that. That feeling of emptiness or the immediate urge to seek the next thing after the initial rush. That's a strong indicator that dopamine isn't delivering true, lasting contentment.
Yeah.
It's a mechanism designed by evolution to keep us moving, keep us seeking, keep us alert for new resources. Experts like Michael Levin, Robert Sapolsky, others, they've really challenged this simple view.
Mm-hmm.
Their work pushes for a much more nuanced understanding. They argue that genuine, deep satisfaction, the kind that lasts, often comes from delayed gratification, from sustained effort towards something meaningful.
Not the instant hit.
Right. It's a satisfaction of progress, overcoming challenges, building something, not just getting a quick fix. Focusing only on the hit actually distracts us from those deeper, more enduring rewards.
Which sets up the problem perfectly in our modern world. If dopamine drives seeking, and modern life offers this endless buffet of easily available rewards, just a click away,
Mm-hmm.
it creates this incredibly pervasive, kind of insidious cycle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's a cycle that's really hard to break without conscious effort. This constant overstimulation from instant gratification, social media feeds, streaming shows, online shopping, even those super processed foods.
Yeah, the food thing too.
Oh, definitely. It leads to this insatiable cycle of craving more and more dopamine sources. You get a little hit, it fades quickly, and your brain immediately looks for the next one.
And it never really leads to fulfillment.
Rarely, if ever.
Yeah.
It often results in this deep dissatisfaction, restlessness, because you're chasing a feeling that superficial stimulation just can't provide. It's like trying to quench thirst with salt water.
And the impact on concentration, on productivity, we feel that every day. I mean, we've all felt that magnetic pull, right? You're trying to do deep work, focus on something important, and suddenly your phone buzzes, or you just feel that urge. Check social media, play a quick game, open a new tab.
Now, that immediate gratification directly hinders your concentration. It fragments your attention, makes sustained effort feel almost impossible sometimes.
It's like textbook procrastination, isn't it? Driven by the brain wanting the easy, immediate reward over the challenging, long-term one.
Precisely. The source puts it bluntly. Under such a state of stimulation, any task that requires concentration becomes much harder to perform.
Yeah.
Your brain gets used to this high, almost frantic level of excitement.
So anything quiet or requiring effort feels boring, unappealing.
Exactly. It feels dull, even aversive, because it doesn't offer that immediate ping or like.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle against your own rewired reward system.
And it really feels like our ancient survival wiring has been hijacked. Dopamine was meant to push us to find food when hungry, shelter when exposed.
Vital stuff.
Yeah. And now, ironically, it's pushing us to scroll TikTok when we need to write that report, or binge a show when we know we should be doing something deeper.
The source captures it perfectly. This is dopamine's primary role. Unfortunately, in today's world, the process has been hijacked, which leads to many unintended consequences.
Hijacked.
What was a vital survival mechanism has been subtly, systematically exploited by industries that profit from our constant engagement, our fragmented attention.
Wow.
This exploitation creates a profound imbalance, making it incredibly hard to engage with tasks needing effort and patience, just because the immediate, intense payoff isn't there. We've optimized for speed, not depth.
Okay, so before we dig into how this hijacking really works, I think it's a good moment for you, listening, to do a bit of personal reflection.
Yeah.
Think honestly, over the last day or two, what are you addicted to? And I use that term loosely, not just substances, maybe specific apps you check constantly. Games, online forums, certain food.
And then identify your main sources of stimulation, the go-to things. Really think about them. Do they genuinely make you feel happy, fulfilled in the long run?
Or do they, like the source suggests, often leave you feeling a bit empty, restless, agitated after the initial high wears off?
That candid self-awareness, that inventory of your stimuli diet, it's the first, most critical step towards making any real change, becoming an observer of your own mind.
Because if we keep misunderstanding dopamine, keep thinking it's just pleasure, and chase those superficial hits,
Yeah.
it can lead to some pretty detrimental lifestyle choices, right?
Absolutely. It fuels that constant unfulfilling chase for something that doesn't bring lasting satisfaction. Understanding dopamine as the molecule of more, the driver of seeking, is crucial for making sustainable changes.
Okay, building on that. Let's really dig into this dopamine hijacking. It's not just a catchy phrase. It describes something real and pervasive.
Yes, and that label, the molecule of more, is incredibly apt.
Yeah.
It captures how dopamine drives us to continually seek more stimulation, more pleasure. And crucially, this isn't just about illicit drugs. The range of addictive behaviors influenced by dopamine is huge and surprisingly common. Think compulsive gambling, online shopping, excessive screen time.
Even things like overexercising or constantly chasing new experiences.
Absolutely. Anything offering a quick, accessible, stimulating reward can trigger this more response. It creates this subtle but powerful insatiability.
So for you listening, it's worth asking, what activities in your life might fit this pattern? Not necessarily clinically addicted, but things you reflexively reach for, even knowing they might derail your bigger goals.
hmm And then consider, how might consciously limiting that constant stimulation actually enhance your focus, improve productivity, free up mental energy? It's a powerful thought, often uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And the problem is magnified because so much of our modern environment is meticulously designed to exploit this system.
Designed, you mean intentionally? Oh, yes. Marketers, app developers, social media platforms, even food producers. They're not just accidentally hooking us. They are intentionally, often with scientific precision, creating features to leverage our dopamine-driven behavior.
That's kind of chilling, isn't it? Knowing these platforms we use daily are literally engineered to exploit our brain chemistry, keep us scrolling.
It is. They use incredibly manipulative features. Let's break down some examples. Take notifications. That little ping, the vibration, the red badge.
Yeah, the red badge gets me every time.
Right. They don't just alert you. They create immediate anticipation. A mini dopamine rush, a promise of something new or exciting. But how often does checking it actually lead to fulfillment?
Rarely. Usually it just breaks my concentration.
Exactly. It reinforces the cycle of checking, pulling you away. The source notes they create anticipation for rewards, which doesn't provide long-term fulfillment. It's a brilliantly engineered, but ultimately empty loop.
And it's not just notifications, it's the endless feeds, the pull to refresh thing.
hmm That constant urge to check email or social media, even when you know you should be focused. It leads to continuous, fragmented distractions, severely impairs deep work.
Yeah, imagine starting your day determined to work on a big project.
Right.
And your phone buzzes. Each ping feels rewarding, right? It tricks your brain into seeking more stimulation, not the deep work you intended. It will hijack your attention and lead straight to procrastination.
And this hijacking isn't just digital. Think about our modern diets. The sheer amount of easily available sugar and fat and processed food.
Yeah, the food connection again.
It triggers a powerful, almost immediate dopamine release, creates intense cravings, leads to excessive consumption with minimal effort. Think how easy it is to grab a sugary snack versus making a healthy meal.
True.
And while the debate continues on whether sugar is addictive like drugs, it's undeniably highly habit-forming. And, like digital platforms, often designed to make us want more.
So it's the whole environment, screen time and food, constantly offering these easy high dopamine hits. And this has a huge impact on our ability to think long term.
A profound impact. The ability to think long-term, to plan, delay gratification, work towards goals without immediate payoff, but with substantial future rewards. That's crucial for success, for building anything meaningful.
Health, wealth, relationships.
Exactly. Yet modern distractions, especially social media with its rapid-fire responses, instant likes, quick feedback, they directly promote a short-term mindset.
It trains our brains to expect instant gratification.
Precisely. Making it incredibly hard to cultivate that long-term perspective needed for truly significant achievements. Our patience muscles just atrophy.
So our brains are literally being rewired. And the source points out 4 common mind tricks our brains play on us to keep us hooked on this overstimulation, like internal saboteurs.
Yes, subtle, deceptive narratives. First, the false promise. Returning to work is easy.
Oh, I tell myself that all the time. Just 5 minutes.
We all do, but it's rarely true. Neuroscience talks about attention residue. Even a quick check leaves mental clutter from the previous thing in your working memory. Makes it much harder to fully re-engage,
Yeah.
like leaving mental tabs open.
Okay, that makes sense. What's next?
The classic procrastination mantra. You can do it later.
Guilty as charged.
It tells you, this isn't urgent, I can postpone it. But continually postponing important, challenging tasks turns procrastination into a deeply ingrained habit, a default response. It makes the task seem even bigger later.
A self-perpetuating cycle of avoidance. Yep, number 3.
A crucial distinction that gets blurred. Excitement versus fulfillment. The intense excitement from a stimulating activity, a thrilling game, binge watching, a new purchase, that feeling does not equal true, lasting fulfillment.
Fulfillment comes from.
Meaningful progress, effort, overcoming challenges, building something valuable, deep connections. Excitement is fleeting, fulfillment endures.
Got it. And the last one.
The infamous fear of missing out, FOMO.
Oh, yeah. Big one.
This manifests as that constant, anxious need to check updates, respond immediately, be perpetually connected. It fosters this belief that quick reactions are essential to avoid missed opportunities, stay relevant.
It's a powerful anxiety driver, keeping you locked in the cycle.
Totally. So for you listening, a key self-assessment now is to honestly rate your own susceptibility to these mind tricks. Which ones resonate most?
Just becoming aware of which narrative your mind plays can be empowering.
Hugely. Awareness is the first step to intervention.
Mhm.
Think about it. You start your day, focus on a report, phone buzzes from a chat group, pulls you away. Each ping feels rewarding, like you're part of things.
Yeah.
It tricks your brain into seeking more stimulation from that immediate feedback, not the deep work you intended. This constant engineered distraction will hijack your attention, lead straight to procrastination. It's essential to limit it to rediscover focus.
It really is a constant battle, isn't it? An ongoing negotiation with our minds and our environment.
It is. But understanding these forces, internal and external, is the essential first step to winning that battle, to reclaiming your attention and ultimately your life.
Okay, so the problem is clear. Chronic overstimulation, hijacked reward systems. The solution proposed is this dopamine detox. But let's clarify up front, this isn't about literally detoxing dopamine chemically, right? That's not quite how it works.
That's a really important clarification. You're absolutely right. The term dopamine detox isn't, well, scientifically precise in the sense of flushing the chemical out.
Okay.
Rather, as the source explains it, it effectively refers to minimizing external stimuli to return to a more natural, less stimulated state. The main goal is to dramatically reduce that constant barrage of easy, instant rewards.
Why? What's the benefit of reducing it?
By doing that, you allow your brain to resensitize itself. You find the motivation to focus on the major important tasks that previously felt overwhelming, boring, or just too tedious to even start. It's about recalibrating your baseline stimulation level.
And the promise there, according to the source, is pretty powerful. When you need less stimulation, seemingly challenging, boring, or tedious tasks will become more appealing and easier to tackle.
It is a powerful promise, yeah. It completely transforms your relationship with difficult work, makes the hard things feel less daunting.
Can you give an analogy?
Sure. Imagine constantly eating super sugary processed foods. After a while, even a naturally sweet piece of fruit might seem bland, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you cut back on the processed sugar, your palate recalibrates. Suddenly, that apple tastes incredibly sweet and satisfying.
Ah, I see.
The dopamine detox works similarly for your attention and motivation. Reduce the external noise, the lure of instant gratification, and your brain starts finding satisfaction in activities needing sustained effort, patience, deeper engagement.
It recalibrates the reward system to appreciate slower burn rewards.
Exactly, making it more responsive to the natural rewards of deep work, meaningful activities. And the source outlines several types of detoxes with different intensity levels to help you do this.
Let's break those down. Starting with the most intense. The 48-hour complete dopamine detox sounds rigorous.
It is, yeah. Definitely rigorous, designed for a full mental reset. It involves cutting out most external stimulation for 48 hours straight.
What kind of things are we talking about eliminating?
The list is pretty extensive. No drugs or alcohol, no exercise, except maybe light, gentle stuff like stretching or a slow walk. No internet unless absolutely essential. No movies, no music except calming, relaxation music. That distinction is key.
No stimulating music, just calming. Got it.
Right. No phone use beyond emergencies, no social media, no added sugar or processed foods, and
Yeah.
definitely no video games.
Wow, so it's like creating a sensory quiet zone for your brain for 2 days. But you're not just supposed to, like, stare at the wall, are you? What do you do?
Not at all. The idea is to replace those stimulating activities with things that are contemplative, restorative, foster connection with yourself.
Like what?
Things like unhurried, contemplative walks, maybe in nature,
Yeah.
journaling your thoughts and feelings, meditating or practicing deep relaxation, doing awareness exercises like mindful breathing, reading non-stimulating, reflective material, no thrillers, gentle stretching.
Okay.
The source compares it to a 10-day Vipassana retreat in intensity, less demanding, sure, but still aiming for that deep reset. The core idea is reduce your overall level of stimulation and revert to your natural state. A deep cleanse for your attention.
Okay, a full reset. But what if 48 hours feels like a huge leap? Especially just starting out, there's also the 24-hour dopamine detox, right?
Yes, that's a more accessible entry point.
Mm.
Similar restrictions to the 48-hour one, but obviously much shorter.
Easier to commit to, I imagine.
Definitely easier. But the source does note it's generally less effective than the full 48 hours.
Why is that?
The main reason given is that it often takes several days for your brain to really start reverting to that natural, less stimulated baseline. 24 hours can give you a helpful jolt, some benefits for sure, but maybe not the profound recalibration of a longer period. It's a good start, though.
Okay. And then there's the most gradual approach, the partial dopamine detox. This sounds good for beginners or if you have one really specific big distraction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the least demanding, most flexible option. Instead of cutting out most stimulation, you focus strategically. You identify and eliminate just one specific source of distraction that's your biggest personal hurdle.
Like, just quit YouTube for a week. Or Instagram. Or that one game.
Exactly. Whatever consistently derails your focus the most. Its effectiveness comes from sustainability over time. By consistently removing that one major source, you gradually reduce overall overstimulation.
It's an accessible way in without the shock of a total overhaul. Lets you build momentum.
Precisely. It allows you to start experiencing the benefits more gently.
That makes a lot of sense, offering different levels. So for you listening, the action step right now is maybe to think which type of detox feels doable for you, even if it's just committing to a partial detox for the next week, mentally, or even write it down. Make that choice. It's about finding what you can realistically sustain to begin reclaiming your focus.
It really is. It's about setting a clear, realistic intention.
Oh,
Knowing that even small, consistent steps add up to significant changes in how your brain engages with the world, more focused, more present, more fulfilled. The journey starts with that single step.
all right. So you've maybe picked your detox type. Now let's get down to the brass tacks,
Yeah.
the how. The source gives a really clear, practical 3-step method for making this work.
Step one is fundamental, kind of the bedrock. Identify your biggest distractions. You can't tackle what you haven't clearly named.
Makes sense?
The method suggests creating a simple 2-column list, almost like a personal contract. One column, your cans, the activities you will do, the permitted, productive, or restorative things during the detox.
Okay.
The other column, your cans, the activities you must avoid, your primary sources of overstimulation and distraction.
So cans might be reading a calm book, walking, journaling, stretching, mindful breathing.
Exactly. And can'ts would likely be your smartphone, beyond essentials,
Yeah.
social media apps, streaming services, stimulating video games, maybe sugary snacks if they're a trigger for you.
Right.
The source emphasizes reflecting deeply. Which specific activities significantly impact your personal focus and productivity? It's a very personal list.
Tailored to you. And once you have this list,
Make it visible. Tape it to the fridge, stick it on your monitor, put it by your bed. Somewhere you'll see it constantly. It's a tangible reminder of your commitment. Helps when willpower dips.
externalizing the commitment. I like that. Okay, step 2.
Step two is super powerful, rooted in behavioral psychology. Add friction. This is about strategically engineering your environment.
Engineering your environment.
Making it harder to do your cans and, crucially, easier to do your cans. It's proactive environmental design.
Okay, give me examples of adding friction to the cans.
Okay, so for unwanted behaviors, don't just disable notifications. Physically put your phone in another room. Or maybe use a timed lockbox during work blocks.
A lockbox.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Use app blockers for tempting websites or social media during certain hours. Log out of social media or streaming accounts after every use. That tiny extra step of logging back in adds just enough friction to make you pause. Interrupts the automatic habit loop.
And the flip side, making the cans, the good stuff, easier. Less friction there.
Exactly. If you want to read more, keep a book right there on your nightstand. Easy to grab. Want to exercise? Lay out your clothes the night before. Trying to eat healthier. Prep healthy snacks so they're the easiest option when cravings hit.
Reduce the obstacles for good habits.
You're basically doing a strategic analysis of your cans and can'ts. Where do I need to add friction to the problem habits? Where do I need to remove friction for the beneficial ones? This proactive, almost architectural approach significantly boosts your chances, makes good habits feel easy, bad ones feel like a hassle.
I love that. Adding and removing friction. Okay, step 3. This one feels critical, especially for the whole day. Start first thing in the morning.
It has a profound, often underestimated impact. How you begin your day really sets the trajectory.
So the advice is,
Crystal clear. Avoid checking your device's phone, tablet, laptop immediately upon waking. That instant flood of info, notifications, emails, social media, it's a direct path to overstimulation. It hijacks your focus before the day even starts, puts you in reactive mode.
instead of checking the phone, what should we do?
Establish a calming, low-stimulation morning routine. This isn't just about being zen. It actively promotes concentration, sets a positive, intentional tone.
What kind of activities are we talking about? Simple stuff.
Yeah, simple grounding things. Meditate for 5–10 minutes, do some gentle stretching, listen to calming, non-lyrical music. Write down your top 2–3 goals for the day, practice gratitude list things you're thankful for, repeat positive affirmations.
Just pick a couple.
Exactly. Document just 2 or 3 simple morning activities you can consistently follow. Kickstart your detox, anchor your day in calm focus. As the source says, remember, what you do first thing in the morning matters far more than you think. It establishes control, intention.
Okay, let's recap that 3-step method. It feels really actionable. 1. Identify your biggest temptations. Make visible cans and can'ts lists. 2. Add friction to unwanted behaviors. Lower friction for desired ones. 3. Develop a calming morning routine. Manage stimulation from the start.
And remember, the specifics of restriction vary. Complete detoxes minimize all stimulation for a deep reset. Partial detoxes focus on eliminating just your main 1 or 2 distractions to build sustainable habits.
The source also gives some great tips to maximize the detox experience itself. Make it more than just deprivation, like take notes.
Yes, don't just sit there feeling restless. Document those feelings, the urges, the mental chatter. Observing helps you understand your internal patterns and triggers more deeply. It's metacognition, becoming a scientist of your own mind.
And use the time to reflect on your life.
Crucially, the detox isn't just about abstaining. It's a golden opportunity. Review your bigger goals. Honestly assess how you're spending your time. Reflect on your values. Are your actions aligned with what truly matters to you, with your desired productivity?
Wow, okay. It's a chance for deep self-assessment. And you can also use it to actively solve problems.
Yeah, instead of letting worries just swirl around, cluttering your mind, write them down, externalize them, then list potential solutions next to them. It declutters your mind, channels that energy constructively, transforms anxiety into action.
And maybe the deepest one, identify your fears.
Sometimes that constant search for external stimulation is really an avoidance mechanism, escaping uncomfortable truths, difficult emotions, daunting tasks. Acknowledge the fears that might be driving that behavior. Naming them allows for constructive confrontation rather than letting them subconsciously control you. The overall goal is using the detox for clarity, self-insight, a more intentional way of living.
This all sounds incredibly practical for hitting reset. But thinking critically here, the method emphasizes identifying distractions.
Yes, and that awareness is absolutely the necessary first step. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge.
But is mere awareness enough for deep, lasting change? Some research suggests you need to understand the underlying triggers, right? Not just what distracts you, but why.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Work by researchers like Baumeister and Heatherton highlights this. Understanding the deeper motivations is often more crucial. It's not just that social media distracts you.
It's why I reach for it. Like when I feel anxious about a deadline, or bored, or hit a tricky part of a task. What emotional gap is it filling?
Exactly that. The source provides a fantastic framework, but a truly deep dive for you involves personalizing it further. Identifying distractions is helpful, but it can be a bit one-size-fits-all. What triggers one person might not trigger another. So I'd strongly encourage you, listening, to dig deep into the why behind seeking certain stimulations. Ask, what emotion am I avoiding? What need am I trying to meet? That deeper understanding, that emotional detective work, unlocks even greater potential for change. Gets to the root cause.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into the core of it. Actually doing the work. Combating procrastination. Because the detox isn't just about the break itself.
No, not at all.
It's about resetting your system so you can be more effective, more focused, more productive when tackling those important goals afterwards.
Precisely. The main goal, Revisited, is exactly that.
Why?
Lower your baseline stimulation, which intrinsically enhances motivation for essential, challenging tasks. It helps you combat procrastination head-on. As the source says, to lower your level of stimulation and feel more motivated to work on key tasks makes the hard things feel less hard.
So after a detox, or just working on reducing stimulation daily, how do you sustain that focus? The source really hammers home the importance of planning your day, like a shield against distractions.
It's indispensable, not just a suggestion, a strategic act. The benefits are huge, clarifies important tasks, reduces succumbing to distractions, increases your sense of control over time, decreases stress. The source says, when you take time each day to decide what you want to accomplish, you limit the risk of distraction. Planning creates a clear mental map, a blueprint. frees up mental bandwidth for the actual work.
And how do you plan effectively? Do you need a fancy app?
Not at all.
No.
The source suggests something refreshingly simple. Pen and paper. Jot down 3 to 5 key tasks for the day, the most impactful ones.
Okay.
Then, crucially, prioritize them. Ask yourself this powerful question. If I could complete only one task today, which one would have the greatest impact?
That really forces you to focus on leverage, doesn't it? Cuts through the noise of a long to-do list.
Exactly. Ruthless prioritization.
And this planning method isn't just for the daily grind, right? You apply it to bigger goals, too.
Absolutely. Same principle for short-term goals, daily, weekly, and your long-term vision, maybe 5 or 10 years out. Break down big aspirations into smaller, high-impact, actionable steps. Creates a clear roadmap. Makes big goals feel achievable, maintains momentum.
Builds a bridge from here to there.
Okay.
Which leads to scheduling major tasks for maximum impact. If you've identified that single most impactful task, you don't save it for 4 p.m., right?
No, absolutely not. The source strongly emphasizes tackling your most critical task first thing in the morning. It's presented as the key to productivity.
Why first thing?
It's based on 3 principles: focus, consistency, and impact. By eating the frog, tackling the big one first, you build immediate momentum. You ensure the most impactful work gets done before distractions derail you. Sets a productive tone for the whole day. Avoids procrastinating on what matters most.
Okay, so we've planned, identified the big task. How do we actually develop that laser-sharp focus needed for the work session itself? The source had concrete strategies here.
Yes. First, establish a routine. Condition your brain. Choose a specific time and place for deep work. Stick to it consistently. It trains your mind to associate that time and place with focus. Makes getting into flow easier.
Like a mental warm-up.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Choose a calming trigger. A small ritual signaling it's time to focus. Making a specific tea, listening to an instrumental track, 3 deep breaths, clearing your desk, creates a mental transition. Time to concentrate now.
Third was surprisingly simple. Just start.
Yes. Often the biggest barrier is inertia. We wait for motivation, but it usually follows action. Start first, motivation follows, as the source says. Don't wait for perfection, just take the first small step. Open the document, write the first sentence. Momentum builds.
Fourth, the non-negotiable. Remove all distractions.
Absolutely critical.
Tough
Turn off
to-
all notifications, computer, phone. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Put the phone away, another room, a drawer, out of sight, out of reach. Eliminate anything that pulls your attention.
And finally,
Commit to uninterrupted sessions. Aim for about 45 minutes of intense, focused work. Long enough for flow and progress, short enough to avoid burnout. This structured approach trains your brain for sustained concentration, builds mental stamina.
this whole approach, especially removing distractions, ties into understanding what the source calls open systems. What are those? Why are they bad for focus?
Open systems are environments designed for chronic overstimulation and continuous distraction. Think social media feeds constantly updating, email inboxes pinging every few minutes.
Right.
They use algorithms to keep you engaged with an endless, unpredictable stream of new stuff, exploiting that molecule of more. They are the absolute antithesis of focus.
So the opposite of what we want, and the alternative is closed systems.
Exactly. Closed systems limit distractions, promote focused, single-task work, a simple Word doc, a spreadsheet, a coding environment. You control the input. There's no inherent external stimulus bombarding you.
You're in control.
Right. The key takeaway, powerfully emphasized by the source. Consciously starting your day with a closed system minimizes distractions from the outset, makes tackling hard tasks significantly easier, profoundly influences your productivity for the whole day. Build an intellectual fortress around your attention.
Okay, so you've done a detox, you're planning, you're focusing, but then life happens. How do you avoid the dopamine relapse, as the source calls it? Sounds almost inevitable.
It is challenging, and yes, a very normal part of the process. The first most crucial thing, recognize and accept relapsing as normal. If you've done a detox or are building these habits, congrats, huge step. But don't expect perfection.
Right.
Self-awareness, as the source stresses, is key. Become adept at recognizing the signs of slipping back, that restlessness, the twitch to check your phone, mental fog.
So if I find myself mindlessly scrolling again or struggling to start a task after a good streak, no beating myself up.
Absolutely not. No guilt, no shame. The advice is clear and compassionate. Don't dwell on it. Simply restart your routine and do it one day at a time. Guilt paralyzes. It doesn't motivate. View the slip as data, a chance to learn and adapt.
It's an ongoing practice, not a one-off event, which means you have to understand the mind's battle.
Yes. Acknowledge. Distraction will happen. It's almost inevitable today. Instead of self-criticism, just gently, consistently refocus on your routine. Don't dwell on the setback. It's a gentle redirection, not harsh punishment, like exercising a muscle.
And it links back to that idea that the modern world is designed to distract us. We have to keep consciously recognizing external distractions for what they are.
Exactly. The source reiterates, the attention economy is engineered to capture and monetize your attention. Your focus is valuable, worth a lot of money to you, as it says. So you must actively, assertively redirect it towards your goals, meaningful activities, not passively succumb to engineered distractions. It's an active choice, moment by moment. Protect your most valuable resource.
So how do you prepare proactively before the temptation hits?
By preparing a contingency plan, this isn't just hoping, it's a concrete strategy. Counteract potential distractions before they occur. The source suggests mental rehearsal. Reflect on worst-case scenarios when you're most vulnerable. Then, vividly visualize your successful responses. Mentally rehearse how you'll manage those temptations.
Like, if I know I want to check social media on a break, visualize myself taking a walk instead.
Exactly. That mental rehearsal strengthens your resolve when the moment actually arrives.
And this isn't about trying to eliminate everything overnight, right? That seems impossible.
Correct. The emphasis is on a sustainable system. Establish simple, consistent habits that promote a gradual lowering of your baseline stimulation. Not eliminating everything at once that leads to burnout and relapse. Build a flexible but robust framework for long-term focus. A new, resilient default mode.
This sounds like it requires constant vigilance almost. Is there a way to make it feel more natural, more calming, less like deprivation?
Absolutely. This is where the source brings in the crucial idea of cultivating here-and-now neurotransmitters.
Beyond dopamine.
Yes. Beyond dopamine, the seeking chemical, there are others. Endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin. These foster calmness, presence, contentment, well-being. Dopamine is the chase. These are about savoring, being grounded now.
Okay.
They're released when we feel content, connected, present, not constantly seeking the next hit. As the source says, cultivate the here and now neurotransmitters.
How do we boost those chemicals? What activities help?
By consciously doing things that trigger their release. Consistent meditation and mindfulness, they ground you. Quiet the seeking mind. Spending genuine quality time with loved ones, deep social interaction, not just scrolling, boost oxytocin, the bonding chemical. Gentle stretching or light exercise releases endorphins, natural well-being. Contemplative walks in nature lower stress, increase serotonin, and maybe surprisingly, practicing boredom.
Practicing boredom.
Yeah, just sitting without external stimulation, letting your mind wander. It encourages these here and now chemicals, teaches your brain contentment comes from inner quiet, not just external noise. These activities ground you, counter the dopamine-driven overstimulation.
And finally, to really cement all this, the source suggests a tangible commitment, the 30-day challenge.
Yes. Commit to maintaining your chosen, simple, daily routine, partial detox, morning routine, focused strategy for 30 consecutive days.
Why 30 days?
It's often long enough, psychologically and neurologically, to solidify new habits. Makes them feel more automatic, less effortful, significantly reduces the chance of slipping back into old patterns. It's a commitment to consistency, makes the changes stick.
Ultimately, all these strategies, understanding dopamine, adding friction, cultivating presence, they all lead back to reclaiming your focus, reclaiming your attention, reclaiming your life.
And that, in turn, helps you achieve your biggest goals, potentially transform your life, enhance productivity, deepen relationships, increase overall well-being through meaningful actions, genuine interactions, inner peace. Living a life driven by intention, not constant, engineered distraction.
You know, in a world that is relentlessly, tirelessly vying for every last bit of your attention, maybe the greatest act of rebellion, and maybe the most profound form of self-care, isn't about scrambling to do more, consume more, achieve more. Maybe it's about learning the quiet, transformative art of desiring less of what's ultimately unfulfilling, and instead cultivating a deep appreciation for the satisfaction found right here in the present moment, in deep work, and in meaningful connections. Something to really think about. What does that mean for your pursuit of happiness?